On the last episode of the Chris Rennie Show, it was a big day for hands. This is your host, Christopher Rennie, welcoming you back. And this weekend, it's going to be a big day for speed, strength, and agility. The NFL Combine goes into full effect. The interviews are already happening, the medicals are going through, and we are going to have so much to talk about next week. On this episode, we are going to talk about some very interesting subjects that happened since our last show and the last time we met on Monday. On this episode, we are going to talk about the beautiful contrast between LeBron and Zion's performances and how it says more about LeBron James at this point than it does about Zion. I'm going to talk about the Astros. It's been a lot of fun to watch them this spring. For one reason and one reason only. Hashtag policing. And then I'm going to talk about the Sixers injuries and how I've continued to prove myself right about the 76ers. Lastly, we're going to talk about some NFL Combine stories to watch, and one in particular that really grinded my gears. Anyways, as always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Rennie CFB, as well as like the Mom's Basement Facebook page. Anyways, enjoy the show, and subscribe and rate the podcast. I can't do this anymore. What's this guy saying? Who gave these national radio hosts these jobs? Jeez. Can't even understand that guy. What's he even talking about? I can't take it anymore. Those national media personalities making you feel like that, make a change. Listen to this idiot about the sports that matter from the opinion that matters. Haha, you said it, not me. Now for today's takes from the most opinionated host in sports talk. Welcome in, everybody. It is your host, Christopher Rennie, and this is the Chris Rennie Show, episode 11, recording in Columbus, Ohio, the Buckeye State, and the Buckeyes are about to show out at the NFL Combine, which is happening this week. But before I get into the NFL Combine and before I get into real sports topics, I got to talk about something very important that's been grinding my gears, and something that I just need the world needs to know about, and I need to share it if you haven't already seen it, if you haven't already watched it. See, the thing is, I know The Bachelor is still a popular choice. The one for the girls and the ones for the guys who want to fit in with the girls and be like, oh, I watched The Bachelor, I'm cool, girls like me, you know? And that, that's cool. I enjoyed it. I think some of the seasons of The Bachelor, you still find something new, but we've seen The Bachelor how many times? I don't know. How many seasons of The Bachelor have there been? A lot. There's been like 20. Oh, so 24 seasons of The Bachelor. That's a lot of seasons. And at the end of the day, the same thing happens almost every single season. It gets down to the final 3, the final 4. One of the girls doesn't want him to sleep with the other girls. He does, and then everyone gets all mad about it. People are acting like this is the first time this has happened. It probably isn't. I think this is the first time a girl on the show's gotten that mad about it. But I don't know her name. I didn't follow the show. I know she knew what she was getting into. It's The Bachelor. But he still probably should have respected her wishes, especially if she was a 1. Yeah, fun drama, Been down this road 24 times. So now, I'm thinking, man, it's just getting tired. I just can't do this anymore. The brackets aren't keeping me engaged. The show itself, but you love the cheap. You love the cringy drama that these girls and this one guy, or the other way around, those 25 guys and the one girl bring. You love it. But what piqued my interest? So there's something new. Piqued my interest. And I got engaged really quickly. Without really ever even seeing it. I just kind of heard about it. Just through the grapevine on a wall. Through a wall, kind of. The idea of of this show was enough for me to commit to the whole first season without seeing one episode. The show is about, making a romantical connection through blindness and not being able to see the other person. The show is Love is Blind. And I've seen a good portion of Twitter talking about it, but I don't think I've seen enough people talking about it. The whole point of this show is to prove the point that looks are not the key to romantic success. And if there's a strong enough emotional connection that love, in fact, should be blind, the whole point of the show is just this interesting dynamic. So for you guys, I'm gonna play the preview for it, and I hope you guys enjoy this preview because it's gonna explain it a lot better than I can. But the official trailer for Love is Blind, here it goes. It's playing.
I want to spend the rest of my life with. I've never seen her before. Here, you will choose someone to marry.
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. Can't say see ya without ever seeing her.
If you're ready to find the love of your life,
Game time.
the pods are now open. What kind of work do you do?
So what are some of your biggest turnoffs?
So what are you looking for in a woman?
Ethnicity, race, physical appearance. None of that matters. I'm really starting to emotionally connect with you.
This could be a remarkable love story. You're a beautiful person. I don't have to see you to say that.
I'm scared of making the wrong decision. Can't see my life without you. Will you be my wife?
I am engaged to somebody I've never seen before. I hope he's just find me very attractive. Oh my God.
The physical attraction is on par with the emotional connection.
She has become the most important thing in my life. I want you to be 1,000% open with me.
There's my student debt.
You're a white guy. She's a black woman. Let's talk about that. This marriage is tearing me and my family apart.
This was fate. This is what was meant to be.
You're bringing me down.
You're bringing me down.
Don't insult me like that. We're getting married. That's scary.
Do I want to marry him? I don't know.
Do you take her to be your lawful wedded wife?
I cannot do this.
Yeah, so before I get in trouble for plagiarism and whatever the hell they can do on my podcasting, that is the Love is Blind trailer. Go check it out on Netflix if you haven't before I continue this show. This is not an ad. This is a discussion topic, but I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want to get taken off YouTube again. Please don't take me off YouTube. I am giving full credit to Netflix. That is not my content. I make no money on this podcast. There's no monetary gain here. Yet. So when the episode, yes, I get it. I'll get it then, but not now. Not now. All right. So yes, the idea of the show, pretty straightforward. You sit in this room, and there's a wall in between you. Guy, girl, guy, girl, guy, girl. It started with like 24 people, and these people talk. These people were like, oh my God, I love you. And then engagements happened. All right, so they get engaged. They go on this like little pre-honeymoon. They get to know each other in Mexico. It's really cool. It's really fun. Everyone's having a good time. Then some serious drama starts. A man reveals his true sexuality. A woman cannot take it. What a twist. Won't see that on The Bachelor. And I'm just not here to knock The Bachelor. I'm just trying to make a point. The cast of Love is Blind is very interesting. The dynamics, the people are crazy. I mean, you got to be a little crazy to take on this type of experiment. Just looking at these people who are on the show. I personally could have never done this. I'm in a happy relationship right now. So, it's great. Now, you look at what happened in this show. There were quite a bit of people who were sort of forgotten as the show went on. I don't know if there's going to be like a quick season 2 with the rest of the people they didn't really touch on. But looking at this, there were... Okay, I see it. So, yeah, let's think about this a little bit more. So, it's interesting, this show, because there are people of all different ages. There's 24-year-olds. There's 34-year-olds. The 24-year-old contestant was the youngest. His name was Mark. He dated a girl named Jessica who really wanted to date a guy named Barnett, who ended up dating Amber. And that drama was just absurd. So, yes, on The Bachelor, it's very one-dimensional, the drama. It's very surface-level drama. We all know why there's drama. On this episode, it keeps you guessing. And you know, the stress of getting married to someone in less than a month, meeting them, and doing the whole process of all that it's so intense. So watch the show. I don't want to give away any spoilers right now, but next week I'm going to go through the show. I'm going to power rank the hell out of the people who were on the show. I'm going to talk about like the relationships individually. I think it'll be a fun show. I think it'll be like me breaking down sports, but breaking down a show in Love is Blind. So that'll be the Monday show, and we'll talk NFL Combine and the rest of Love is Blind. I just really needed to bring that up. I've got 40 minutes left. 2 more weddings. Crazy, 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 crazy. You guys heard it all in the preview. The preview should get you guys sold. I'm not selling, though. I'm not selling. I just want to have more people to discuss this show with, because I see everyone talking about The Bachelor all the time. No one's talking about Love is Blind. Not in my circle. That was a good show, too, The Circle. You know, Netflix is getting really, really into these experimental game shows where you communicate with people through non-traditional methods, change the way relationships are formed. The Circle is about full-on parasocial relationships. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, The Circle is great. They got like 8 people into a room. They all sort of put together. You could be a real yourself. You could be a catfish. Yeah, so that one was good too. Watch The Circle and watch that. I like The Circle a lot, honestly. And you know, the best part about social media and the best part about Love is Being Blind is that means when I talk about love is I could easily transition into a discussion on LeBron James. So this past weekend, the Lakers took on, this past week, I should say, on Tuesday, the Lakers took on the Pelicans. There was a lot of drama surrounding this game. Obviously, you have the former Lakers and Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, now in New Orleans. You have the former Pelican and Anthony Davis. We've all seen how that move's worked out. The Lakers are way ahead in the NBA standings right now. Their lead is up to 5 games over the Nuggets. Yeah, reasonably, they've got 6 games in the loss column. They've got a lot of space. The Pelicans are chasing that 8th spot. They are 3 games back from that. Zion's been playing extremely well, but when I see the discussion surrounding what happened during the game and seeing guys like Skip Bayless, Chris Broussard. Skip Broussard's a good way to put it right now, honestly. Ever since Chris Broussard got his own radio show, he's gone downhill significantly. He got his one moment in fame, and it's sort of been downhill ever since. You know, the decision when he was the guy who broke the news that LeBron was heading to Miami. I always hated Chris Broussard for it. Never held a grudge, but always hated him for it. Skip Bayless on this game said Zion was more impressive. And I thought that was a very interesting take, being that when you look at the stats, LeBron James, 40 points on way less, on like way more efficiency. That's what I meant to say. Way less free throws. That's the other one I wanted to say. So it's interesting when LeBron gets hate. It really is to me, because a lot of the time it's unwarranted hate. A lot of the time it's hate because you gotta, not because you want to. And when you go and you look at the recap, when you look at the box score, and you see the impact LeBron made, and granted, Zion played great, 8 for 18 from the field, 13 for 19. This is not me attacking Zion. He scored 29 points. He's at his 9th consecutive game with 20 points. He's one of the few rookies to have ever done that. So that's very impressive. It really is. LeBron carried a load like no other in this game. 17 for 27 shooting, 5 for 11 from 3. Went on an 11-0 run in the third quarter when the Pelicans started making a little bit of a push at the lead. So at one point, the Lakers were up 14 points. They ended up winning by 9. The Pelicans gave the Lakers their best effort. And as I highlighted before, there were a lot of reasons for the Pelicans to give this level of an effort. You have the 3 former Lakers. You've got this young rookie. You've got Drew Holiday, who always plays hard. You've got all of these stories surrounding the Pelicans as they're making this late push for that 8th seed in the playoffs. And then you've got LeBron James, the aging king. I'm not going to go as far as Nick Wright. The torch passing discussion's one we've always wanted to have. Some people are arguing the torch has already been passed. The Warriors did not receive the torch. Not a single individual player on that team had the torch. I'm just going to put that out there. That team was definitively better than anybody else once they added KD, and that is that. I'm not going to get into that argument. It's a long argument. It's a nuanced argument. It's an argument I'm not taking on this show today. The argument I'm taking on this show today is LeBron still has that gear. What LeBron proved to us this past week is that the Lakers are going to be playing in the NBA Finals. I am going to lock that one in right now. They are the best team right now. The fact that Anthony Davis went 6 for 21, 0 for 3 from 3, had 14 rebounds and still scored 21 points, and they won against a playoff caliber team, a team with playoff potential, shows like there's some serious depth here. There's a lot of talent here. Danny Green given 17 points. Caldwell Pope had a really big day from the floor. Kyle Kuzma had a great game. And then Alex Caruso came off the bench and had 8 points and 8 assists. And you want to know what his plus-minus was? It was plus 20. That is an insanely good plus-minus. And he wasn't always on the floor with LeBron James. I think that's one aspect that you need to always check is who is playing with who. When LeBron was out, Caruso was the predominant ball handler off the bench. That's a big advantage when you've got a 6'8 guy who can handle the ball like he does, who's always going to make the right play like he does, who can hit a 3 every once in a while, and who can score baskets, and get those and ones and finish those types of plays in the lane. You start looking at who played well and who didn't. I like to really look at plus minuses for this. Rajon Rondo, minus 17. Kyle Kuzma, minus 19. Alex Caruso is the answer. Markieff Morris in his first game for the Lakers added depth at the power forward and small forward positions. So, yeah, there's a lot of good things about the Lakers. And I want to highlight this. As Zion played great in another big game. Was he the most efficient? No. Did he make a bunch of big plays? Did he make a bunch of flashy plays? Yes. And on a show where I want to discuss this more, Zion is probably the future of the league. But the most important player in the league still is LeBron James. I turned on that game for LeBron James, not for Zion. Did it help that Zion was playing in the game? Yes, it did. I am going to watch the NBA playoffs for LeBron James, not for Zion, as are many NBA fans. And the only reason the ratings are so bad this year, and not worse than they are, is because the NBA still has LeBron James. So yes, when LeBron James gives you 40 points, as a fan, as a team, as a player, it's something you need to appreciate, whether you like it or not, whether you like LeBron or not. I am a LeBron stan. Self-proclaimed. Always have been, always will be. Ask any of my friends. Bronsexual, whatever you want to call me. I am. But that performance was his best performance in a while. And he's just turning the corner. And last show I said it's time for some load managing. And you know what? He absolutely demolished Josh Hart. So much so that Rihanna even commented on it. And now we're going to get playoff LeBron. And what LeBron proved in this New Orleans Pelicans game and this New Orleans Pelicans matchup is when he needs to turn it on, there is still another gear LeBron can go. So that is the LeBron Lakers, Zion Williamson. You know, I saw that discussion a lot, and it was awesome. It was a great game. It's what the NBA needs. I think a LeBron-Giannis final will be one of the greatest finals from an athletic standpoint. You know, everyone's like, who has next? Who's next? I don't care who has next. I'm going to enjoy who has it now and LeBron until it's over. That's all I got to say. And now we're going to talk about a very, very awesome story. So I have obviously been following this closely. We have done a lot of discussion about this on the show. In the first game of spring training, Jose Altuve was hit in the back with a baseball. The Astros weren't punished. And when you read their punishment, they were fined $5 million and docked a first and second round draft pick. The GM was fired and A.J. Hinch was fired. The players were not punished. MLB granted players immunity for taking part in the investigation. Immunity does not imply innocence. Immunity implies guilt of some wrongdoing. Because if they didn't do anything wrong, they wouldn't need immunity. Right? So, Rob Manfred warned players that if they did go after Astros batters, and they did throw pitches at them with the intent to harm, that they'd be suspended for 15 games. Well, the MLB has always sort of policed itself. The players have. And I think Manfred has that understanding that that's what's going to take place. Obviously, you have to say that if you're the commissioner. You have to protect these players from serious bodily harm. But I really, really would like to see him suspend an MLB player because the uproar hasn't been bad for him already. You know, it's not like an NL MVP and Cody Bellinger called you out or an AL MVP and Mike Trout called you out when it comes to, you know, this whole cheating scandal. It's not like a guy who got robbed by the MVP and a perennial silver slugger and Aaron Judge called you out. It's not like the biggest stars in the game are on your side, Rob Manfred. So, you know what he said? He said, well, if you do it, you're going to get fined or you're going to get suspended. So, what's happening? Are the players listening to Rob Manfred? Absolutely not. The players don't care what Rob Manfred said. That's not how the MLB works. Baseball is the sport of self-police. Hockey used to be there's a lot less fights. In baseball, you throw out our guy, we throw out yours. That's how it works. And if you throw out our guy again, we're fighting. That's policing. You know, the way these fans have acted, you know, the asterisk signs, the signs getting stolen. The best one I saw this week was I had a better sign, but then the Astros stole it. That was a good one. So through 5 spring training games, the Astros have been hit by 7 pitches. They've hit their opponents 3 times. And yes, in spring training, I actually looked this up. The bean rate's obviously a little bit higher because the hit by pitch rate increases a little bit because pitchers haven't thrown their breaking balls in this sort of environment in months. Got to give them a little credit there. But the fact that Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman are 2 of the guys who've been hit by pitches, that says a lot to me. So according to MLB.com, players have been hit by pitches 80 times so far in spring trainings. Jimmy Carrigan of the Minnesota Twins and Roman Quinn are the only two players who have been hit by pitches more than once. That's from BusinessInsider.com. And they say the Astros lead all teams with 7 players getting hit by pitches. Jorge Guzman got Jake Myers with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So obviously there is some beef, and the players are going to take this into their own hands. And do I have a problem with it? No. If Trevor Bauer has a problem with Alex Bregman and he wants to hit him in the back with a curveball, it slipped. I'm with it. I'm with that mindset. The league did not punish him harsh enough. And you know what happens when the league doesn't do their teams and the players who are playing the game the right way justice? The players have to take it into their own hands. What do you want from them? You want them to just sit there and take the cheating? Because they're not going to. 0% chance they do that. I will tell you one interesting aspect of this that is going very under. Is every single day it's one of the new guys. What is Correa going to get hit next? Hopefully. I'm not condoning hurting these guys. Don't really throw at them to maim, but when you come out and you are defensive and you call out other players and you say they're just jealous of our success, which I remember, Trevor Bauer got into it with Alex Bregman multiple times. And don't get me wrong, Alex Bregman's probably a really good baseball player, but I'm never going to look at the guy the same. Bregman said Trevor Bauer was crazy. He said it to him multiple times on Twitter that Trevor Bauer was crazy. Guess who wasn't crazy? Trevor Bauer. And that's not the only instance of this. That's just the instance that relates closest to me. Now, it's time for the players to take this into their own hands. I'm not for this, but it happens. Players get thrown at all the time for way less serious things than this. So I don't see a lot of pain in this. I don't think it's great for the game, but I do understand it. And I am on the side of the players wanting to take justice in their own hands. Are there better ways to do it? Probably. Will baseball players find those better ways? Probably not. I think there's going to be a few fights. I think there's going to be a lot of bad blood because Manfred didn't do his job. And I really do think baseball is going to be in for a really interesting year with this story and with what's happening with the Red Sox as well. So, moving forward, there's going to be a lot of discussion surrounding what is going on. And there's going to be some players who probably get punished for going after the Astros, and I think that's wrong. So, last episode of this show, episode 10, I did go in on the 76ers. I said they were diverging apart from each other, and rather than having their two stars converge and develop and get better together, the two stars are further apart than they've ever been. And actually, with them getting further apart, they got closer together. And after that show, I thought, man, you know what? My take's probably going to be wrong. Because guess what? Joel Embiid goes off and gets 49 points. But you know what else Joel Embiid doesn't do very well? Is take care of his body. He has a shitty diet. He always seems to be working out in Uggs. He doesn't do that anymore, but I like to bring that up because he did do that once. He always has something to say. Ben Simmons the opposite. He never has anything to say. Damn well that I do not like Joel Embiid. I think he's a baby. I think when you flip a guy off for stealing the ball late after you did the whole WWE, can you dig it, when you hold your ear, I can't visualize it for you very well with my words, but can you dig it? And then you listen to the fans and you have the hand up to the ear and they're roaring for you. Yeah, so he's doing that. He's hitting threes. He's scoring 49 points. He had a phenomenal game. There is no taking that performance away from the guy. But this is where I run into a lot of issues with the 76ers. When you see a team like this and you see the attitude the 76ers have and players like Joel Embiid have, there's a reason they're the 6th best team in the East right now. The 5th best team. They're going to be the in the standings, they're 5th. The Pacers, they're a better team. I legitimately believe that. Right now, I've been watching a lot of Celtics basketball lately, a lot of Milwaukee Bucks basketball, and a lot of Los Angeles Lakers basketball. Those are by far my 3 favorite teams to watch in the NBA. So, when you watch the 76ers play, there is no rhyme or reason for anything they're doing. And it feels so lost and so discombobulated out there. And I know when Ben Simmons is playing without Joel Embiid, everything seems organized and fixed, and they play at a tempo and they play fast. But Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid need to get to the same spots to score. Joel Embiid can hit a 3 every once in a while, but he is not a good 3-point shooter. Joel Embiid is a guy who takes terrible shots most of the time, and when you get to the playoffs, you can never really know what you're going to get out of him because he's out of shape. He always has been. He's an out-of-shape basketball player. He played 8 minutes against the Cavs, hurt his shoulder. And now injuries happen all the time, but injuries happen more often when you're out of shape and you don't take care of your body. I'm not saying that's the reason he got hurt. I'm not insinuating any of that. But when it's a constant history of it, there's got to be something you need to do to fix it, to take care of your body better. So this year, he is shooting 34% from 3. This is his best year as a 3-point shooter, I think, in his career. Besides 2016, that was from 2. All right, I was still right. 2016, 2017 was his best year from 3-point. He's at 34% this year. He's at 47% from the field. He's not very efficient, it feels like to me. He takes a lot of bad shots. And when he takes good shots, he usually makes them. He's a good player. He just does his own thing too many times a game. And that's where I lose Joel Embiid. And, the thing is, Ben Simmons doesn't do enough of what Joel Embiid tries to do. Joel Embiid doesn't shoot the ball with confidence, just with no regard. He's probably a better shooter than Joel Embiid. He just doesn't shoot the ball. I don't know why. It's called the yips. But, yeah, when I go back to what I was saying on that show, I still see the divergence. And you can still see these issues coming up with the 76ers regardless of who's on the court. And you know what that means? It's coaching, and that means Brett Brown's a problem. So you need to decide on who this franchise is going to be based around. Is it going to be Ben Simmons? Is it going to be Joel Embiid? And once you figure that out, it's going to be a lot easier to fill the roster around him. Losing J.J. Redick did not help. He's a great shooter. He plays really well with Ben Simmons, and he spaces the floor. You don't have that same floor spacing, so Ben Simmons is struggling a little bit to score, a little bit to find assists because he doesn't have that guy who's going to hit 3 threes a game off the dishes. And Joel Embiid doesn't show up half the time. He doesn't show up to work half the time, whether it's mentally or physically. So there's a lot of problems there. And to me, I don't think they're making it out of the first round of the playoffs. And I'm going to be right about that. I guarantee you the 76ers do not make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Healthy, not healthy. If they're the 5th seed, they're not beating the Heat. If they're the 6th seed, they're not beating the Celtics. If they're the 7th seed, they're not beating the Raptors. And that is my wholehearted belief on that. And if you're a 76ers fan, I'm sorry. I do not trust the process. Period. Whew. Yeah, so, I watched them. And, I guess I've been contrasting them and comparing them to, I've been trying to find similarities and differences with them and other teams throughout the league. And they play a lot more like a lot of the bottom teams. They just have more talent. So they'll play like the Phoenix Suns, all right? You hear? They'll play like them. And then on nights, they'll look like the Los Angeles Lakers. they're very inconsistent. I watched the Celtics game this week. I watched the 76ers game this week. And when you watch the Celtics, it is very definitive, the pecking order. And if it's someone's night, you give them the rock. That's how it's been working. So when I watched the Celtics play the Jazz yesterday, it was Jason Tatum's night. Guess who got out of the way? Gordon Hayward. When you look at how Gordon Hayward shot, he shot very efficient. He was very effective from the floor. That is what it's all about. Jaylen Brown played a lot of firm defense and made shots when the ball found him. That is all. That's what you want. That is what you want. So yeah. I look at them. I think realistically, the Timberwolves remind me a lot of the 76ers. They have a really talented players. They just haven't been able to piece it together. Yeah, so you take a look at the box score. Jason Tatum, 13 for 20. Jaylen Brown went 8 for 16. Scored 20 points. Gordon Hayward only took 12 shots. This Tice guy's awesome. Marcus Smart played a hell of a game. Plus 20 on his plus minus. You can't. That's just crazy. Enes Kanter went 4 for 4. So when you compare these two teams and you look at what the 76ers are doing and you go back a little further on the schedule for the 76ers, it's just not the same. You don't Al Horford has nights where he touches the ball a bunch of times. He has nights where he doesn't touch the ball at all. So it gets real confusing. And the last thing I want to say on Joel Embiid's 49-point game, he did it against the Hawks. The Hawks haven't played defense in like 2 decades. So yeah, honestly, I don't get the hype of this team. I like Tobias Harris. I like Al Horford. I like Richardson. But there is no legitimate pecking order here, especially at the top. Horford needs to be taking more than 8 shots. I like where Tobias Harris is at with the 18. Embiid, when he's feeling it, I agree. That's good. But it doesn't happen enough. It's not consistent. And that's my biggest problem with the 76ers and something they're going to have to fix moving forward. So now that we're done with the NBA discussion for today, I've been following some very interesting storylines for the NFL draft. Bum, bum. It's in Las Vegas this year. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know how to do the sound. Let's do the sound. Let's pull the sound up. It's better. They were way better at it. NFL draft sound. It's a very, very professional sound. And it's like they made it for a specific reason. One more time, just in case. And with the first pick in the NFL draft, the worst team in the league selects Joe Burrow. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, so that's pretty much been locked in. What Joe Burrow said about he'll play for anyone, he's the ball player, all that stuff. He said the right things. So all of that's good. But these are some stories I've been seeing moving around a little bit. There's always discussions surrounding these types of players. And, in the draft, you're going to see a lot of defensive players drafted that most people haven't heard of, including myself. You're going to see a lot of talk about the devaluation of running backs. And those are some of the storylines I'm going to touch on. But the first one I want to talk about is the Jordan Love and Justin Herbert draft stocks. These two guys are going to be polarizing figures with teams. Both extremely talented athletes, both extremely big and extremely electric throwing the football. They have cannons strapped to their shoulders. Jordan Love played at Utah State. He was very inconsistent as a decision maker and struggled a lot last year, honestly. And I do not believe he's going to be a very good quarterback. And one thing I want to touch on with Jordan Love is the scouting community is going to fall in love with this guy. Absolutely. He's got big hands. He's 6'2", 6'3" in height. And he could throw a football a quarter mile. But we've seen this movie a bunch of times. We've seen it with Josh Allen. Josh Allen's good. I think Josh Allen's a better athlete than Jordan Love. When you look at Jamarcus Russell, what was he known for? His super arm strength. When you see guys like Jake Locker, who had huge arms but just never really put it together consistently in college, there's a reason for it. And that reason's also going to stay with them once they get to the NFL. A lot of people are like, well, look at Patrick Mahomes' record. Yeah, but look at the stats Patrick Mahomes put up in big games. His biggest game of his career, he threw like 10 touchdowns against Oklahoma. That is production. His team didn't lose because of him. That's for sure. Mahomes was accurate. Mahomes was a loose player, but he had to be. They didn't have the offensive line there. You know, when you look at a guy, you look at the types of opposite players. Jared Goff's got a strong arm, but no one is ever going to say Jared Goff's got a cannon strapped to his shoulder. He's a very good, accurate quarterback. Smaller hands, what you do? So there's always going to be these discussions surrounding quarterbacks. And when you're watching Jordan Love's draft stocks and Justin Herbert's draft stocks, just know when they get to the league, there's going to be a lot of growing pains if they ever do get a chance to start. And both of them are looking like they're going to be picked high enough to where they're both going to get legitimate chances to start. When you look at mock drafts, most of the time they've got Justin Herbert going a little bit earlier than Jordan Love, but that's something that can change. I think that's one of the aspects of a mock draft that gets interesting. I was reading Bucky Brooks' mock draft, and it's pretty bad. But we'll pull this one up because I've already got the link loaded because I was rereading it before the show because I thought adding terrible mock drafts to this segment. So he has Justin Herbert going to the Chargers and then Jordan Love going to the Raiders at 12. That is a very Raiders move. And I want to be the first to say that Jordan Love would not be the quarterback I'd take if I was the Raiders. But the Raiders are doing everything they can to become Kansas City. The thing is, John Gruden's not Andy Reid, and Jordan Love's not Patrick Mahomes. So, take your L where you want to take it. I am a believer there's probably going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. I'm not sure where that 5th one's going to fall. But Bucky has Jacob Eason going to the Packers. I don't think Jacob Eason's going to be a first-round pick. I think Jake Fromm's going to get picked ahead of him just because of intangibles. And if Jake Fromm's getting second-round grades, I think that means, that's sort of, it's interesting. It's interesting. So, yeah, in this other mock draft, this one I actually think it's a little bit better. It's by Chad Reuter. He's got Tua going 3. This is with trade, so it gets a little confusing. Jacob Eason 13 to the Colts. See, these guys are high on Jacob Eason. I'm not. So I guess what I'm trying to say is these guys' draft stock is going to be completely dependent on their pro days and on how well they throw at the combine. And they're both going to light it up. And it's sort of like what Bruce Arians said this week, but with throwing the football. You can fall in love with a guy at the combine for running a 4.2, but they could run a 4.6 on tape. Yeah, this guy can throw a ball a quarter mile on a football field at a combine and hit a receiver, but when the pressure comes, he's probably going to throw it to the other team. I'm not saying that about Herbert or Jordan Love, but they had made some questionable throws last year. Those are characteristics that will get overlooked because of the potential and a coach thinking, hey, I'm a really good football coach. I can fix this. All right, Jalen Hurts moved to another position. I'm not going to say I'm tired of this, but I'm tired of this. Not for the same reasons as some people, Jamil Hill. It's not because Jalen Hurts is black. It's because he's an inconsistent downfield passer. Jalen Hurts has a really strong frame and a really good athletic build. Dual threat quarterbacks who are inconsistent throwers, regardless of race, are going to be asked to change positions at the combine. Tim Tebow was asked to change positions. Cam Newton was asked to change positions. Cam Newton ended up winning an MVP as a quarterback. Okay, we get it. Bill Polian said Lamar Jackson should switch positions. I'm still not convinced he's a great thrower of the football. Every time he played a good defense, he struggled. Throwing the ball. Running the ball, Lamar's fantastic. And he made some really good throws last year. And if he continues to develop as a passer, eventually I'm going to be proven fully wrong. Chris Winkie moved to defensive back. You know, it happens. Keenan Reynolds is playing wide receiver. He was a triple option quarterback. We're going to talk about that. He went to a military academy. He should be given the opportunity to play quarterback. That's not how it works. I get wanting to come in and play quarterback. I really do. But at the end of the day, teams want to know how versatile you are as a player. And I think if you really knew how versatile Jalen Hurts was, you'd just go and look at the film. I think there's absolutely enough of it there. I do believe he has the arm strength and the caliber to be an NFL quarterback. So, you know, I think it's one of those questions. It's a lean. I am tired of reporters asking it as much as I'm tired of players having to answer it. That is stuff that can be discussed in private. I don't really see any purpose in Jalen Hurts switching position. He is a good enough quarterback. He is an accurate enough quarterback. He can throw the ball downfield pretty effectively. As we saw against LSU, once they got legitimate pass rush on him, he struggled, and that's what happened to him at Alabama as well. So he has his weaknesses. He has his strengths. But let's not make a big deal of this. If you're an athlete and you have struggled throwing the football at points in your career, they're going to ask you if you're open to changing positions. That's just how it works. The next one on the list is going to be which player makes their combine by being the fastest. So Henry Ruggs is the guy everyone's saying is going to be the fastest guy at the combine. But usually when everyone says that the guy is going to be the fastest guy, it rarely happens that way. So, yes, Ruggs is going to be the guy everyone wants to tune in for. And I really want to see a 4.2 40. It is insane to see guys that athletic. But I've been reading through some articles, and these are two names that I keep seeing to watch for fastest guy at the combine. Jalen Reagor is going to be measuring close to Ruggs. He is absurdly fast. This article cites that in a 2018 matchup inside Jerry World against cornerback factory Ohio State, Reagor looked like the fastest player on the field. While Ruggs is more likely to run on the 4.2s, Reagor could sneak into that prestigious range. A time in the low 4.3s is expected. The other guy, and this is a guy no one else has heard of, is Levante Bellamy. He is fast. I turned on his highlights for maybe like 15 seconds, and he is jittery. He is quick. A little on the smaller side, but once again, people are saying 4.28 type guy. And then another TCU guy, and this is from CBS's Sports, Jeff Gladney. So when I go consensus, I'm going to say Reagor and Ruggs are the two guys people are most excited to see run. And then everyone's dark horse candidate has been Levante Bellamy. And when you watch the film of him and you watch his highlights, it's not really a dark horse candidate. I think if I had to pull a dark horse candidate, all right, if I'm pulling a dark horse candidate at the combine, I just got to make sure he's there. I need to make sure he's there. If he's at the combine, I think, yes, all right. So Anthony McFarland the running back for the Maryland Terrapins, I think, is going to be a 4-3 guy, and I am excited to see him run. So that is my dark horse pick. I came up with one for you guys because I didn't want to just take everybody else's work on that one. But I think Anthony McFarland's a guy who's going to touch 4.31 and 4.32 and absolutely shoot his draft stock up. He's had injury issues ever since he was at DeMatha Catholic. He got an offer from Maryland very early in his career. He torched Ohio State, and that's why I know so much about the guy. And he has struggled to maintain health throughout his career. So the position of offensive tackle has been extremely important. And there's a lot of teams who are very interested in these offensive linemen early in the draft. I know as a Browns fan, we need a tackle. So when you look through this, you are going to have a list of 5 guys that I keep seeing being the guys who are going to be the first ones taken. You've got Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, Jedrick Wills from Alabama, Andrew Thomas from Georgia, and I've been seeing a lot of Austin Jackson and a lot of Josh Jones, so we'll tie them at 5. To me, the best tackle in this draft is Tristan Wirfs. But reading about Mekhi Barton and how big he is, the Louisville guy, and once I see how well he performs at the Combine, I'm going to be able to make an educated statement on him. A lot of mock drafts have the Browns taking Andrew Thomas. So these are going to be the guys you see. When you look at mock drafts, who the first tackle's taken, why, like, who's going to be the first tackle taken, and when. And in most, it's been Andrew Thomas or Mekhi Barton. Becton, my bad. So I truly do believe that Andrew Thomas is the best one in the draft. But Mekhi Becton is going to be the most interesting prospect to watch. So that'll be fun. Other players I'm excited for outside of these positions. Isaiah Simmons, obviously. Jeffrey Okudah. Jeffrey Okudah is a big one. I was super excited for Chase Young before he said no. So K'Lavon Chaison's taking his place on that list of just a blue chip pass rushing talent. So yeah, no, I mean there's a lot. The feeling of running back. So you got guys like Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There are so many good running backs in this draft. This is one of those running backs or a dime a dozen drafts. We're going to see how people feel about running backs. Because looking at all these mock drafts right now, not feeling good about them. Not feeling good. I don't think I saw a running back in the first round in any draft except one. And it was 32. And the Chiefs either take DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins. I think Jonathan Taylor can play his way into the first round. I don't know what team, though. I think J.K. Dobbins is a first-round talent at running back. I don't know which team, though. And I also believe DeAndre Swift is as well. The difference is I don't think J.K. Dobbins has the injury history. I don't think Jonathan Taylor has the injury history of a DeAndre Swift. So I really do want to see how these running backs play out. Just watch the news, see what people are saying about them. And that's where you want to sort of take that one. And then lastly is going to be the defensive stars. There's going to be a ton of great defensive players from Grant Delpit, Patrick Queen, Chase Young, Yetur Gross-Matos. You know, just the list goes on and on. Isaiah Simmons, I already mentioned. Kenneth Murray's a great player. Xavier McKinney from Alabama's a guy who's getting first-round buzz. You know, A.J. Espinoza was a high-energy guy from Iowa. So, you know, there's just so many awesome players. Derek Brown's another one. Jeffrey Okudah. All the DBs coming out from Ohio State. So, yes, there's absolutely going to be a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. I think this is a very defensive-centric draft. I think when you look at the quarterback prospects, when you look at the offensive prospects, it's a receiver draft, and then the rest of the draft is the defense. And I think you're really going to be able to find depth defensively throughout the entire draft, and that's really awesome. the last one I want to touch on is 46 players were asked to work out at multiple positions. So yes, if a quarterback's asked to work out another position, just remember they're also in a club of 46 other players that are superior athletes, and they're such good athletes that they're being asked to work in another position. Now, Tua or Dwayne? That is the question, and that is what Mel Kiper said. Draft Tua, make him and Dwayne compete. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard Mel Kiper say. This is what I'm closing the show on. Dwayne Haskins is a good NFL quarterback, and he got better and grew throughout the season, and he's already formed a very good relationship with Terry McLaurin and those receivers there. And once you solidify the offensive line and solidify the defense and get him a consistent running back, and when he had Darius Guiche last year, he was a pretty consistent quarterback. And at the end of the year, he was making some throws that not many guys in the league could make. And I will tell you, Dwayne Haskins has a significantly better arm than Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa is a great quarterback, and I just don't see him fitting in Washington. It's not because of anything. I just think you'd be so dumb if you're the Redskins to pass up on Chase Young. You already have a pretty solid quarterback, and that's where I see that going. That's how I'm going to close out the show. You know what, Mel Kiper? You're good at what you do, but I'm a Todd McShay guy now after you said something so idiotic. Subscribe and rate to the podcast, everybody. This is the Chris Rennie Show, episode 11. Follow me on Twitter, Chris Rennie CFB, and comment your thoughts at me. Who's your dark horse candidate in the draft to run the fastest 40 time? Who's your biggest riser from certain positions? Let's talk draft. Let's talk college football. Let's talk NBA. Tweet at me, Chris Rennie CFB, and follow me on Instagram, Chris Rennie CFB. This is your host, signing off. Adios.